Hey guys, Michael Brown, Churchill Mortgage. I am here with the guest today, Jim Youngblood from Deselms Property Management, and he is a longtime friend, and I've worked with him in the past on real estate, and I know his property management business is absolutely exploding right now. And we get a ton of calls from clients all the time about buying and investing in properties, but they're just frozen in fear. How do I find the right property? Who's going to manage that property? Is it going to be a money pit, or am I going to actually cash flow this property? There's 100 questions. So I'm a firm believer in building wealth long-term through home ownership, but people are just terrified to take that leap because they just don't know how the process works. So we're going to talk about that today, answer a lot of your questions. But to start off, Jim, if you could just tell us about your history in real estate, how you got started, and a little bit about your company, that'd be great.
Yeah, thank you, Michael. So I have been in real estate for 8 years. I made a career change out of emergency medicine, got burnt out like most people do in healthcare. And I had experience with construction and real estate previously, and I was always interested in that. So, I just took the leap and jumped in. The first 2 to 3 years of my career, I focused on real estate sales and did well at that. I enjoyed it, but after about 3 years, I really found my niche working with investor clients, and also had the opportunity to work with some land developers. So I really fell in love with real estate when I dove into the business end of it. So, started joining the commercial investment membership group and the Institute of Real Estate Management. So typically it's a different group from your salespeople. And that's really where I fell in love with real estate and started thriving and started servicing my investor clients. And that's what also led to property management.
I want to brag on Jim for a minute because he won't tell you this, but his property management team was ranked the number one leasing team for the last 3 years here in Middle Tennessee, which is amazing. So congratulations on that.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, those were awards presented by the association, the Realtor Association, Greater Nashville Realtors, and we're very proud and humbled to receive those accolades. Thank you.
That's wonderful. What's going on in the rental market in Middle Tennessee? Because we hear varying stories, and Nashville overall is a pretty strong housing market, but what's happening on the rental side right now?
Yeah, sure. So it is very fluid right now. I'm going to speak generally. I'm not going to give specific numbers just because I see so many different numbers from different organizations daily. But there is a huge amount of vacancy right now in our Nashville market. I'm hearing that from the Nashville Business Journal, seeing it, in the news, how many thousands or tens of thousands of units are sitting empty. And that's trickling down to our market as well. Typically, we would have 3 to 5% of properties vacant at any point in time, due to turnover. But right now, we're in excess of 10, closer to 15% vacancy of the properties that we are managing. And so we're seeing lots of incentives, people giving out free months rent, move-in incentives, helping people move into their places. And the market is just very sensitive right now. It's very price sensitive. On our average home that rents for around $2,850 a month is our average lease price. $50 in the asking price can make the difference between no showings and getting multiple applications to rent the place. So, applicants, renters are just very price sensitive. $50 to $100 is making all the difference right now in our market.
In my mind, I was thinking the rental market would be cranking with just home prices being so unaffordable for a lot of people. People needed places to rent. I'm surprised that vacancies are that high. It's really interesting. When someone signs up to work with your company, what are the primary services that you offer?
Yeah, so we built our company based on working with and working for our investor clients. So we're a full service asset management firm. We consider ourselves as asset managers because we are managing their financial investment. The gold standard when you're trying to choose a property is it's called a 5-year cash-on-cash internal rate of return. So if you're working with us on the acquisition of the property, that goes into the decision making. If do you want to buy this house, this condo, this apartment complex, all the way up to we can underwrite the Batman building if somebody wants to reach out to AT&T. But it's full service acquisition, getting properties rent ready. If it's an owner moving out of a house, we'll handle getting our handyman there, getting some touch-ups done, getting cleaners in there, renovating the house, whatever it needs to be done to have the property rent ready, to reduce our vacancy, get the highest rent amount. We handle all of our marketing, tenant screenings, lease negotiation, inspections, tenant move-in, rent collection, any issues that come up with the HOA or lease violations throughout the term of the lease renewals, move-out inspections, repairs, start all over again. So it's A to Z. It's a full service that we offer.
And that full service is critical because the main fears that I hear in my seat as a lender when someone's looking to buy an investment property is, I'm terrified about losing money. Can I get a tenant? Is it going to cash flow? If there's a major repair, appliances, roof, how I'm going to cover that, and will I end up being in the hole at the end of the day with those major expenses? If I have a bad tenant, how do I handle that? Do I evict them? Can I evict them? What's the legal process? And people need to go into correct me if I'm wrong, into a rental property with a long-term view, not a short-term view. If someone's going in to buy it for a year, it's probably not a wise decision. But if you plan on holding on to this for several years, I think over time, regardless of the expenses, with the way homes are appreciating in Nashville, they're going to come out in the winning circle at the end.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I start off with real estate's a market. You've got the bond market, the stock market, the real estate market. So there's no guarantees. Right. However, historically looking at the real estate market, it's a safe place for people to put their money. In Nashville, we're very, very, very solid, very protected here. There's a lot of money here. There's a lot of interest here. That's how I first approach the real estate market. Is there's no guarantees, but we're in a good market here. And I always tell this story, Michael. My first investment property was by accident. I bought my first home right before the recession hit, and then I needed to sell it during the recession, and I couldn't. I was underwater and didn't want to pay $10,000 to $20,000 to sell my home, so I found somebody from church to rent it. It cost me about $100 a month that I had to put in with their rent payment to pay my mortgage, my taxes, and my insurance. They stayed there for 3 years, paid my principal down. The market bounced back up, and I sold it 3 years later and made $30,000. So that's when I first realized it's the long game. Yeah. It is, and that's why we underwrite and look at our properties and analyze them on a 5-year return, every dollar in, every dollar out for 5 years. Because right now, with the way the market is, if you're leveraging a mortgage with a higher interest rate, the month to month is not generally pretty right now.
Right.
So it is. It's the long game.
So Jim, if you had a client come to you today and said, I'm interested in buying an investment property, but I am clueless. I don't want to make a bad decision. If I work with you, what's the first step? Do I talk to you first? Do I get pre-approved first? How do I go about this process of learning and figuring out if this is the best thing for me? What would you tell that client?
Absolutely. Yeah. So the first thing I would tell the client is figure out where the money's coming from to fund the investment. Are they the sole decision maker? Do they have a business partner, a spouse? Because they need to get on board and be on the same page with that person. And they need to figure out what is their criteria for an investment property. What are they looking for? Some investors will come to me and say, I've got to clear $200 per door per month. That's my criteria. Or I have somebody say, hey, I need a 12 to 13% cash on cash internal rate of return after I sell the property in 5 years. So everyone has different criteria. So, get your team on board to make sure that you're putting your money in the right place confidently. Right. After that, when you're ready, get pre-approved, figure out what you can afford. And then, talk to a real estate agent or a realtor who specializes in investment properties and say, hey, here's my team, here's my down payment, this is what I'm approved for. Start showing me my options and then estimating, what type of return I can expect from these properties. Or you can say, only show me properties that meet my criteria.
Right.
because I'm underwriting properties every day. And then when I see one that meets a client's criteria, I can say, hey, here's your property. Let's go buy it.
The back up in the financing part, an interesting conversation I have in my chair every day is, people will say, I want to buy an investment property, but they think they can get in with as little as 3 or 5% down. And I explain, typically, most investors require 20% down on an investment property. And occupancy in our world is a big deal. You could do a primary residence, a secondary home, or an investment property. And if you're buying an investment property, it's amazing how many times you talk to a client and they're like, well, just tell them it's a primary residence. And I'm like,
it doesn't work like that.
It does not work like that. That's considered mortgage fraud.
Right,
so
right.
So a lot of people struggle for that 20% down, but it's typically the required down payment with most investors for an investment property.
Yeah, just dive into the cap rate a little bit, because that is a hot number and a hot word that's thrown around with investors. It's a ratio, so you're dividing the property's net operating income by its value, and you're getting a percent. When I started in real estate 8 years ago, everybody said, I want a 10 cap. That's my goal. And in our market, when you look at the income to value of the property, it's only going to be about 5 right now. If you're getting a 10 cap right now, it probably has some deferred maintenance, maybe a roof leak, maybe the HVAC is not working well. So the value's lower and closer to the income from rent.
Right.
So right now in our market, a lot of stuff is coming out between 4 to 6%. We can go to, neighboring markets, maybe Chattanooga, Knoxville, Memphis. You may be able to get 6, 8, 10% there because their values have not increased as substantially as ours have here in Nashville.
So this is dumbing down for people. Basically, in a tight market like Nashville, you're getting a cash flow, but it's going to be minimal.
Home values have increased faster than the income from the rent. Therefore, it decreases that percentage.
Right.
And it really makes it hard on someone buying a house only putting 20% down to cash flow it. Right now, if you're only putting 20% down, and I say only, that's a lot of money.
Yeah.
You're still probably going to be in the hole every month.
For your tenants, do you require them to carry renter's insurance?
Absolutely. It's not an option. So our property management software that we use is very advanced, very high tech, uses lots of AI. And in our lease agreement, it is required for tenants to carry renter's insurance, liability insurance in case they damage the property. So the way our system works, they sign our lease agreement, and we automatically provide landlord liability insurance or renter's insurance to them. And they pay us for that every month. And also in the lease, they are welcome to get their own renter's insurance. And then when they provide it to us, we turn theirs off, and then we don't charge them the $12 to $15 a month for it. Okay. So they're welcome to get their own policies, but we implement our own policy day one, so there's no chance at move-in renters are not protected and the properties are not protected.
A funny question. So we always joke that as a realtor or property manager, you're half realtor and half counselor. So when you deal with a new client who wants you to rent their property, I know it's very hard for them to get their hands out of the pot and let you do your job. Mm-hmm. What expectations do you set with your owners if you take over a property and manage it for them?
Yeah, so, the way, again, we have set up and built our business around working for investor clients. And they want to do what they're good at. They want to go to their job, make great money, invest in real estate, and they want us to do our job, which is manage their property. So the way we have set up our business is we're not really a co-management company with our owners. Our owners in our management agreement make us the landlord and property manager. So it's very hands-off for our owners. They're involved, obviously, in big decisions, big money decisions and stuff like that. But, we are the experts in this market. We're in it every day. That's all I do is lease properties, multiple properties a week we're leasing. And with our involvement with, actually on the board of directors for the National Association of Residential Property Managers for our Nashville chapter, we are staying on top of all of the trends, everything that's moving, what needs to happen, and our owners trust us to make those decisions for them. So,
I was an owner. That's exactly what I want to hear. don't call me unless you need me. You manage the property. You do a good job. I focus on what I do best, and you take control of this piece of it and roll with it. That's exactly what I'd want to hear. I don't want you to be calling me every other day for this question or ask about this. Take care of it. Get me involved only if it's absolutely necessary.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's in my opinion, really needed to be set up that way because, we have fair housing standards that are very stringent for property managers and real estate professionals. We have all of the building codes that we have to stay up on top of for health and safety. The Tennessee Department of Health has extra regulations that we have to meet on top of building codes and requirements. And those are things that just the typical owner don't know or don't understand. They're just, not knowledgeable about. And those are things that we are knowledgeable about, and we make sure that get done to protect the owner.
Jim, tell me, how does your company handle maintenance on these properties?
Yeah, great question. That's a critical part of keeping our residents happy and safe in the home is being proactive and tackling the maintenance professionally. Because really our residents only think about us 2 times, when it's time to pay rent and when something breaks and they want it fixed. And so we want our residents to have a positive experience, and we do everything in our control to do that as best possible. So our residents have a portal that they can submit maintenance requests 24/7, 365. And then we also have a full-time dedicated maintenance line with educated technicians. They can call and text to troubleshoot issues, days, nights, holidays, weekends, it doesn't matter. And so, our on-call technicians will, work through the process, and they'll figure out, hey, is this something I can get the tenant to fix on their own over the phone, or do we need a professional for this? And then we manage about 40 different vendors who take care of all of our properties. And we will then assign the work order to the right contractor, vendor, professional for the job. With a text message or a call, if you're having structural issues with a house, I can have, forensic structural engineers, on the way. Water, fire, mold damage is a big issue. Our specialist there responds to emergencies generally within 30 minutes. And so it doesn't matter if it's that or if it's, the ceiling fan stopped working and needs to be replaced. We have all of the vendors A to Z to tackle any issue. And most of our repairs that are within our control are done within 2 to 3 days.
First of all, do you do random inspections?
We do. We do random inspections.
And part 2, has there ever been a surprise?
There has been. Yeah, absolutely.
Give me a story.
So, typically and it's different for every house. It depends on the service plans that we have scheduled for properties. Some of our owners want us in there, quarterly, changing air filters and, servicing the heat and air unit and cleaning the water heater. And they're a lot more proactive on maintenance than they tell us to be. And then some owners say, wait till it breaks to fix it. So we're in houses at a minimum twice a year. Michael, I would say 95 to 96% of the time, no surprises. We screen tenants really well. We treat them well. And we do everything we can to make it a pleasurable experience and,
Sure.
and have them a quality home. But yeah, there are surprises. We have clients who travel a lot and are not home a lot. And, I was in West Haven meeting with a family, and they were thinking about putting their home on the rental market. And, I told them about all of the other homes in West Haven that we manage, and they said, hang on a second, we just saw that address on the Homeowners Association's neighborhood Facebook page that water's flowing out of the garage.
Oh my goodness.
And so our tenant was out of the country, and so that's how we found out about it. That was a nice surprise.
Yeah,
but that wasn't like an actual property inspection. But, go into properties and tenants illegally have pets in the property that are not supposed to be there. Yeah, we've seen a little bit of everything.
I'm sure.
Not often, but it does happen. And those are big decisions to be made. And we generally let the homeowner know and help us with those decisions. If it's a major lease violation to where we could evict them immediately, we'll say, hey, these are some red flags. We're worried about these things. Do you want us to provide lease notifications and really push them hard to be in compliance, or do you just want to a victim and restart.
Yeah. Guys, this has been incredible. I mean, Jim, the amount of information you provided is excellent. Thank you so much. If you are interested in learning more about buying an investment property and the whole property management process, Jim's contact information is at the bottom of the screen. Please feel free to reach out to him for more information. He's absolutely amazing to work with.
Well, thank you, Michael. I really appreciate that.
Yeah.